how can an individual contributor who doesn't feel like they belong in the company, they've never been given the, and again, I speak from a women's perspective, but like for most women, they don't feel like they belong in the company. They don't feel like they have ever been valued. How can they start to care about the company so that they can actually grow? Because I think there's a lot of resentment there, right? Like, company doesn't do anything for me. I don't think there's any future for me. I'm really frustrated. So they're stuck in these emotions. How can an IC break out of that? Or do you recommend that they should just go find another company that they care about more?
Yeah, definitely an option. I'm going to be very honest. One of my most favorite quotes is, "If you're not happy, move. You're not a tree." And we have a tendency to stay in places that don't serve us. And I know that it's scary to look for a job, and I know that it's scary to make a move. It doesn't mean that you have to quit on a whim. Don't rage quit. Not definitely something that I recommend, but make a plan. Make a transition plan to go to a place where you can grow, because every single day you're staying somewhere has no opportunities for progression for you. You're just holding yourself back. So yes, that is an option. But if, let's say, you have a good manager, or overall the team is nice, but you don't feel like you're getting everything that you need, there are actually a couple of different ways that you can fall back in love with your company or with your job. The first one is to fall in love with people. So to find people who inspire you inside the organization, a lot of the time it will be people who have been there for a while. They know the company and the mission. They are the people who can get you excited about it and remind you why they're doing it. And sometimes that excitement will rub off on you. I think the second thing that you can do is fall in love with the product or the industry. So spend more time getting to know the product inside and out, how it helps people. Look at customer reviews and see how your company is actually doing something valuable, or just get more information about the industry. Sometimes just getting yourself reacquainted with what's going on, the innovation, it might actually help motivate you. So I think those can be two different ways for you to kind of fall back in love, get more motivation. But when it comes to, hey, the company needs to do this for me, I actually have a very unpopular opinion. And look, in an ideal world, every manager will know exactly what you want. They will understand your growth, and they will give you a roadmap and say, there you go. I have worked for major companies. I have worked for tiny startups. I'm going to be honest. I have never had that level of support. And it's not because I had bad managers. It's because most companies don't have a good infrastructure, and most team members don't have the time. They have so many other problems. And that's why my approach is so proactive. Don't wait for someone to give you. Ask for what you want. So look at your own career, decide, okay, this is what my next step is going to look like. Do the research. Where do I have gaps? What am I missing? And then go to your manager with a plan and say, I want your help in actually executing this, because my goal is to grow in the next 6, 12, 18 months. And I really want to make sure that I get there. And usually, when you do that, if you have a decent enough company and support system, you will grow because you're putting it in motion. So instead of waiting and hoping and kind of, crossing your finger that someone will notice, just build the kind of progression you want to see. And I know it sounds super easy when I say it, but it actually is not that hard.
Yeah, no, it's not hard. Actually, I think when you were talking, one thing that came to mind was you have to recognize what the organization is in the business of. Like, why does that business exist? The business, I think people think, exists to serve them. And it doesn't. It exists to
Yeah,
make
yeah.
money, it exists to make profit, it exists to solve a problem. And the only way for you to get the maximum value out of that transaction is to serve that same mission. And if you don't have clarity on that, then you must go read the website and look into the values and talk to people, like educate yourself in the simple question of what's the business we're in? Because that's different for different companies. It's not
Yeah,
just the
yeah.
product, but it's never to serve you. And maybe that's where the expectations are muddled. It's like, why is my manager not talking about promotion? They're not in the business of promoting you. They're in the business of making more money, and you make more money, and then you get promoted.
Or you get promoted because you can prove you're going to make more money.
Exactly. Exactly. Or you show them, yeah, exactly, of how you'll serve that mission because that's the business we're in. But I feel like if we interviewed 100 ICs as to what is the business of the company, most people will now be able to tell us the right answer as to what the company
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
does.
It's funny, but it's actually one of the things that when we talk about the 30, 60, 90-day plan, most people get it wrong because they think it's a plan to have a plan. I will learn, I will try, I will. The first 30 days, and I actually recommend doing it before you actually start a role, especially if it's a senior executive role, is for you to get to know the company. You need to do deep research, not wait for them to tell you, but actually go out, listen to earning calls, read every interview that they ever did with the CEO, know the website inside out, look into internal files, understand the strategy. And I have to tell you, Prasha, I have done this at every level I was at. I did it as a manager, I did it as a VP. It gives you so much leverage to understand what the business is about because no matter what you do, you then have a way to connect it, to connect your work to the impact. And I think where most people kind of get it wrong is they think it's not fair. And for some reason, we think the workplace is supposed to be fair. So, a little bit of painful news, it's not. It's not a game of fair. No one is there, to your point, to serve you. But that's also a good thing because if you stop thinking about fair and you start thinking about yourself as a one person company and you run it like a CEO, meaning you promote yourself, you invest in your own product, which is you, so you get better, you learn. If you learn how to network, meaning do sales, you're going to have opportunities. You're not going to have to wait in line and you're going to be able to grow so much faster than anyone else around you. And you're not going to have to work more hours to do it. You just need to do things differently.
I love it. So you get in the business of you, and then your business can serve the other business.
Yeah.
That way, nobody else has to be in the business of you because they are not.
But it gives you so much agency. I mean, why go through your career hoping and wishing and waiting when you can actually be in control? And I know that it's hard for people to believe because they say, Maya, but the company makes decisions. My manager makes decisions. The economy is terrible right now. And to all of that, I say yes, but it doesn't actually matter because you have options. You have choices. You don't have to stay where you don't grow. There's actually research that shows, research from Harvard Business Review, I believe, that people who move jobs on average every 2 years earn double. And people are so terrified of that when in reality, it can actually be a career building strategy. Now, I'm not saying you have to move, but I'm saying you don't have to stay where you can't grow. Again, I'm going back to it's a choice that we're making. And if you want to grow your career, if it's a priority, then we can make different choices. And those choices will open very different doors.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, if strategic thinking is a prerequisite for the roles you want, if you can't implement strategic thinking on yourself, then how the hell will you do it for 10,000 employees? Like, it's just
Yeah, yeah.
not possible. So it has that, and that is the reason why the people who are strategic get promoted because that's the quality that you need. And so, if you are promoting yourself, if you have a plan, like that shows us that you are ready to take on more responsibility and work on bigger strategies because you're being strategic from the get-go. So I love that.
Yeah. And I think people get it wrong. So when they hear the word strategic, all they can imagine is a very beautiful presentation. And that actually has nothing to do with strategy. Well, I'm going to give you an example because examples usually work so much better. And I started saying that being strategic is about putting yourself in someone else's shoes and having a different perspective. So the most counterintuitive advice you will probably hear from me that it drives me crazy when I see it all over the internet. When someone is asked to accept a promotion, but the company says, but we can't really give you a raise. So, we're not going to be able to pay you more. And I think the default setting for most of us is it's not fair. I'm not going to work for free. I'm going to say no. And while I totally agree that if you're doing more work, you should get compensated for it, when you kind of put your strategic hat on, here's what you realize. When you say no to a promotion, it is unlikely that you will have this opportunity again anytime soon. Not because you're not good, but because you kind of didn't work within what the corporate was expecting. So it's not great to say no. It automatically puts you in a challenging place. Now, what about saying yes? What happens when you say yes? When you say yes, you get the promotion, which means you get the title. You get an opportunity to do more meaningful work for a short period of time. When I say short, I mean 3 to 6 months, and you're going to use this time to look for another job anyway. But when you go out, you're not going to have to start where you were before. You already accepted the title, you earned it, and you can use it to open doors. And I think that's the part that people miss. And that is what it means to be strategic. Maybe put emotions aside, see the bigger picture, and make sure that you're looking at every possibility, not just black and white.